I gain my freedom through art and through expression. And I gain my freedom through defining myself and making strides in every single way to show a complex version of who we are as Black and brown men that sort of defies a lot of the concepts that the world has about us.
We here to become human again and enjoy the things that is not in our reality.
I think you guys are becoming real with each other, vulnerable.
Is your definition of freedom had changed after the film?
My definition of freedom, what an interesting question. I guess so. I guess for me, the answer really lies in the thought about prison and how prison isn't just a place where there are people, human beings in it. But a lot of times we're in our own prisons.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, just like these incarcerated men that are the central subject of our film, when you have hope and an opportunity, sometimes with the practice of art making, you can have some enormous breakthroughs in your life, catharsis. This happens to these men on the inside with a program like Rehabilitation Through the Arts, but it can happen for all of us. We're all in our own prisons in some way, shape, or form. People have been asking me, how do I relate to the material and why do I care so deeply about these men? I said, because I understand them in every single way. I'm a Black and brown man walking around the world, and the world at times can be my prison. You know what I mean? And I'm always trying to extract myself from that by gaining freedom. I gain my freedom through art and through expression. And I gain my freedom through defining myself and making strides in every single way to show a complex version of who we are as Black and brown men that sort of defies a lot of the concepts that the world has about us. So I think I understand prisons and I understand freedom. And freedom is something that a lot of times I think that, freedom is something that is granted, but it's something you also give yourself. And maybe that's the thing, especially when it comes to our film. These men were liberating themselves on the inside of this maximum security prison through the practice of making art and making theater. Just in that, they were smashing tropes and getting out of this container and leaving space for grace and a space to be tender in a very dangerous place. That's freedom. That's giving yourself the gift of freedom,
Yeah. You mentioned something interesting about catharsis, and I have to say my favorite scene in the movie is when one of the inmates confront the other inmate about being violent and the result of violence, and he used his life and his pain to tell him how violence has affected him. And for some reason, it hits me so hard. It just felt like a documentary, like it just happened in the moment.
Yeah, it's I know why it felt like a documentary as well. There's so many levels that the film is working on. One is that it has a very simple narrative, doesn't have huge set pieces. It really is about these human beings. And a lot of these human beings, as you well know, were formerly incarcerated. And so they're bringing aspects that they truly understood. And in that moment of play and discovery, someone's bringing all that old trauma in with them, and they can't help themselves because that's the way they've survived. Don't walk behind me. I can't trust that. What is that? There's something that man is holding on to, and he's being challenged to let it go, or he's going to disrupt the whole system and the whole ecosystem that was set up for exploration into some uncharted territory that's so sorely needed for their humanity. So that moment when Dino, that was written, but Dino truly understood it because he knew the gift. He was a recipient of that gift of theater and expression that he'd never been given before. And so that line comes, I believe, comes from a very deep place from my cast member.
I think it's a different mindset for you as an actor when you have to shoot in a real location, because the
Yes.
movie was made in a real prison, with dealing with lights. You know, when I guess I never been in a prison, thanks God, but when you are in a prison, you don't have the same access as the light, for example, as we have in our homes. Is that changed your mindset? That you are in a location that actually probably this happened or worse thing happened.
Well, yeah, well, because you know that I think we have only very limited ideas about what prison is, just from the rare television show or situations, um, the rare film, until you walk inside one. And literally, we shot in a decommissioned prison that was only decommissioned 2 weeks prior. So everything about it, you understood what it does to you psychologically. And then you walk out with there with many more questions, because the idea of, okay, people are in this place because things have happened, heinous crimes, you name it. And then you walk through those gates, and there's several that close, and you go in those spaces where the air doesn't seem to move, where the light is so artificial, and you can never find your due north. You're constantly lost because it's designed that way, of course, for you not to get out. But then you start to think, what it does. I mean, this is something that sat with me. It was like, what does it do to the psyche? Nothing about this setup is for rehabilitation or to get better or to really do some real work to create a different person who eventually, in many cases, will be on the outside. So it's just a cycle.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, this doesn't feel healthy at all. And so it made me think deeper about what do we do with human beings who are incarcerated, and to know their individual stories, because not everyone is there for the same reason. And many people do not belong there in the first place. The system, the way it's set up. So it got me to think deeper, because I think most of the times, many of us don't think about it at all.
No.
We don't think about whole communities of human beings behind walls. And, whatever anyone may think about these individuals, I think that we now have to, I feel like, implore a little deeper to, because it does make us a bit more human, to just recognize these are human beings on the inside. And what do we do? And what do we want to, as a society, like to lay out so people can be better?
Also, ironically, I don't feel that I'm watching a prison film. I
No,
feel that I'm watching a humanized film about how humanity works in an environment that is not the usual that we see people developing themselves. Uh,
that's exactly it. I mean, we were intentionally not making a prison drama, because the prison drama has so many tropes that are so limiting, and we got to know these men, and we wanted to honor the humanity of these men and their journey.
I don't know if you're familiar with with the Italian film Caesar Must Die from the
Mm,
Taviani brothers.
no,
It's a real fiction film about Shakespeare. They're creating Caesar Must Die in prison, but real inmates. But it's a
okay,
fiction film. It's not a documentary. And for me, it's about emotion. It's about how you can create emotion from inner place. Because when you're not trained like you as an actor, that you have your tools to create emotion to do things. But when those emotions are raw, it has to be different, and it feels different when you watch it in a film. And I know you met Divine G in real person, like the character that was created the film. How was that meeting? What is your favorite thing about this person?
well, when I met him just the day before I was going to uh, do the film. Actually, start with cameras up, and we made sure that we just sat and had a dinner and just talked, like you and I, just getting to know each other. And he told me a couple of key things that really sort of gave me a deeper window in to who he was. And I'm not someone who interrogates anyone, because I think that's just very private, and I feel like going through the prison system. And that way I feel like I didn't want to interrogate. I just wanted to be respectful and just, you want to share something with me that you think is interesting, I'm here for it. And he just told me a few things. We were just talking about high school. And I was like, what high school did you go to? He said, a high school for performing arts. I was like, really? I didn't expect that. And I was like, cool. So I was like, what did you want to do? And he said, oh man, I was a DJ, but I like to dance. I was like, wow, really? Okay. What kind of dance? He said, jazz and ballet. And that surprised me. I said, really? And he smiled. He lit up when he said that. And then he said, yeah, but man, I just, you get teased, you get picked on, and you got to fight the fellas when they knew you're wearing tights and stuff like that. And so I eventually stopped. And for me, that was some heartbreak. I was like, man, somebody killed his love and desire for dance. And so, but I saw him light up when he said that. So I remembered that. And then he told me about, and it was on the inside. I was always busy, and I was always in the law library, and I was doing work for other inmates and making sure we were getting good food. And, he was very active. And also he was helping other brothers prepare for the parole board hearings and all. He really was that. He found his position in prison in a leadership position and very respected. So I knew that those two things told me how hopeful he was and how active he was and how much of a humanitarian he was. So I wanted to investigate that in the script. That's why there's a pirouette randomly in the film, because I thought I had to find a space to let the audience know that there's a dancer, an artist still alive, something subtle that just comes at a moment that it's not highlighted. It's just a moment that's inside him, so that he's still very much alive and he's trying to hold on to that. So those are the things I find most fascinating about him, and sort of I held on to create a portrait of a man.
Colman, thank you for doing this. I truly love this film, man, and it just hit me by surprise because I wasn't expecting to love this film so much. And it's all, of course, it's based because you are in there. Last year we had a conversation when you were promoting Rustin, and I'm truly happy and excited because things are getting great for you.
Thank you.
And you just thank you for doing this. Now, man, I hope to see you soon with something in your hand.
I appreciate you. Thank you. From your words to God's ears, thank you. All right.
Bye bye, man. Have a great day.
You too.